Hello, my horror-loving dudes. I'm KillJoy Jake, and today we're talking all about the movie Talk to Me, but this time with spoilers. All right, now let's get into it.
Well, sometimes that is better.
Now, if you haven't seen Talk to Me, I did a spoiler-free review of this movie earlier on this month. You can check that out up here, and if it doesn't pop up, I'm gonna look like a real jack. But just giving you a fair warning, there will be spoilers for Talk to Me in this video. Go watch the movie, come on back, and then you can talk to me about it. Let's get into it. Talk to Me is a punk rock paranormal thriller that will surely redefine the genre. It's the highest rated horror film of 2023 for many good reasons. Not only is it super well executed, but it's definitely a new avenue for paranormal horror, something a lot of paranormal horror fans have been looking for. Ever since the rise of Blumhouse in the early 2010s, you had movies very similar or akin to the Insidious franchise or the Conjuring movies that have kind of dominated the space for a very long time. Those movies heavily rely on atmosphere and jump scares to scare you, and while I enjoy that, that's very cool, a lot of movies have done it since 2010. There are obvious exceptions from that, like the 2 Evil Dead sequels we've gotten in that time, and Hereditary from 2018 being like the biggest one. But let's say if Evil Dead is one side of a spectrum and the Conjuring franchise is the other, Talk to Me finds this really creative middle ground. Possession is a huge element, very similar to like the Conjuring, but then you also have like these ghosts running around that kind of look like Deadites. They even make Sophia Wilde's character suck on that one dude's feet. That's pretty gnarly. You know they have websites for that, right, Mia? The tone of this movie makes this something really special. It's very punk rock. We're dealing with like younger characters who are like a little more rebellious. They've had some bad things happen to them, especially Mia, who kind of has this surrogate family in the movie that feels really relatable. I remember when I was growing up in high school, we would have friends that would come over here and spend way more time at our house than their own. I've seen a lot of teen drama shows or movies where I'm just like, this is not an accurate portrayal of high school at all. This is like Hollywood's ideal look at high school, not what it's actually like. This movie feels a little more akin to at least what my experience was like, and I really appreciate that. Something like this I feel like is tough to come across because there's this idea in Hollywood about how high school was really like, which I just personally can't relate to. Speaking of which, the cast for this movie is absolutely excellent. I thought Sophia Wilde in the lead role of Mia really kicked ass. My only criticism about the entire film, though, is I just feel like her struggles with her mother being dead, it's just a little too similar to Toni Collette's character from Hereditary. And I remember watching Rackaracka's video where they were specifically talking about this movie and some of their influences, why they were so happy that A24 specifically bought this movie was because they're huge fans of Hereditary, and you can see a lot of that in this movie. Like, it's very influenced by that film. But even though I have that criticism, it's still super effective here and done not exactly in the same way as Hereditary, which I appreciated. Even though like it's kind of the same thing, it's a different time in your life to be dealing with this. Toni Collette's character is like assumably in her 40s in that movie, where we're dealing with a 17-year-old here. So it was really interesting to see that explored in this movie in kind of a different light. I thought it was still pretty good. I also love how rebellious and intricate Mia's character is. This is like a really good reflection of 17-year-old Jake, I feel. So once again, very easy for me to relate to this movie. This is how 17-year-olds act. I also think Miranda Otto as Sue absolutely killed it, playing the cool mom who's only cool until you push her buttons a little too far. Then the walls come up. And you get to see those walls come up about halfway through this movie when what happens to her son happens. This reminded me of like when I was a child and like, you know, someone accidentally gets hurt and it was your fault by accident and you feel like so bad and so freaked out you don't want to tell mom. I know I keep saying this, but a big reason I loved this is because it really reminded me of like my high school experience. Like we would go over to people's houses and their moms would be cool, but then sometimes, you know, you get caught with weed or something and then they're just like, what the f? This movie is oddly so nostalgic for me. Like I've been in these situations before, minus the possession. Let's look at Truth or Dare from Blumhouse for a moment. I've seen a bunch of movies like this where it's just stale teenage characters played by people in their 20s. I can hardly remember the characters from that movie, but I don't think I'll ever be able to forget the characters from Talk to Me because they're just so much more intricate, so much more lifelike. Like that is something that is one of the strongest factors to this movie, one of the biggest positives in its corner. Real quick sidebar, Miranda Otto is phenomenal in the Lord of the Rings movies, and I will never stop plugging those because it's the best trilogy of all time. Nothing has even come close. Watch those movies. There's some incredible writing in this movie too. Like I think the character of Riley, who just gets the shit kicked out of him this entire movie, which I'm not gonna lie is kind of funny. We get this really nice foreshadowing moment with him and his buddy where they're talking about smoking cigarettes, and he's like, what, you don't want to smoke cigarettes? Like, you're gonna die one day anyways. And then for the rest of the movie, Riley gets the kicked out of him, and it's like, it probably wouldn't have mattered if he smoked a cigarette or not. I think that scene is great because on rewatch, people are gonna be cracking up when they see that scene again, knowing what happens to Riley throughout the course of the film. He didn't want to smoke a single cigarette, but you know, he does bash his face into a desk until his nose breaks. Dark humor at its finest. I was expecting nothing less from the rackaracka guys. It's really tough for me to not compare Talk to Me to Blumhouse horror. Like, I feel like at its conceptual level, like this could have been just another PG-13 horror film that Blumhouse would have released, that would have made a bunch of money, and then people would have forgotten about it next year. Talk to Me is going to stand the test of time though, because it takes things a little further. It pushes that into the R rating that it so rightly deserves. You have ghosts running around that aren't jump scaring people. In fact, there's really no jump scares in this movie at all. It's all about blood, guts, and torturing people, essentially. Not just physically, but also psychologically, as we saw with Mia's character towards the end of this film. That's the most genius thing about Talk to Me. It could have relied on jump scares, it could have been focused on that entirely, but it didn't even try to do that at any point in the film, and that's why I have this utmost respect for it. Me personally, I enjoy jump scares. I love the Insidious and Conjuring franchises, but we've seen so many of those movies over the course of the last 13 years, I'm just like, hey, let's give that a break. You know, let's do something else. Talk to Me is the answer to that. Talk to Me is super scary for a couple of reasons. It shows you these characters who are doing these awful, violent things to themselves. They don't die, and we'll talk about that in a second here, but then it's also about the psychological horror of like what's going on with Mia and how her, like, the ghost of her mother is telling her to do all these horrible things. I love that, because if you look at like the most recent Conjuring film, for instance, like it's really not trying to do much except set up these really nice jump scares and boo, you get spooked. Once again, no hate towards the Conjuring franchise. Those movies are fun. They're fun little like haunted house films where you're just walking through and people are gonna jump out and scare you. It's a good time. Go see them with your friends. But Talk to Me, I can enjoy by myself. I think it's just a really well done psychological horror film that also uses ghosts. But they don't have to jump scare you to be scary. That's what this movie proves. On a technical level too, Talk to Me is incredibly professional. Like going back and watching a lot of rackaracka videos on YouTube, they've always had this incredible quality. I think about their Marvel versus DC video where you have all of these superheroes fighting each other, but there's like blood and guts and people are dying in super vicious ways. No wonder they had to move to the big screen after all these YouTube regulations in the past like 5 years or so. Hats off to Danny and Michael for this film. This is an incredible debut and I cannot wait to see what they do next. Hopefully they stay in the realm of horror. I know they were kind of talking about doing a Street Fighter movie and they met with all these different people in Hollywood, including like Jordan Peele, for instance. Would be really cool to see them work with him, but whatever they do next, I just hope it's at least horror adjacent, because this was really well done. One of the biggest things I don't see being talked about with this movie, though, that I want to shed some light on, is how certain characters survive at the ending, and that might be like disappointing to you if you were like really expecting some like brutal deaths or all that. At first, that's kind of how I felt. I was like, why did the dad character survive? I don't understand this. But when you really think about the ending, Danny and Michael created a worse than death scenario, which I think is scarier than even just killing people. You have the character of Mia, who is presumed dead by the ending of this after she, well, runs into the middle of oncoming traffic. Riley and her dad Max survived, even though she was the one to put both of them in danger, and now she's dead and can no longer communicate with them unless they have the hand. And as we saw with the last scene of this movie, this entire other group of people has the hand now. That scene where she's running around the hospital and it just starts fading to black and you see like her dad walk away out of the hospital with the bandage on his neck and Riley's getting wheeled out, she's like screaming at them. That is horrifying to me. The idea of getting blamed for all of these things, even though you were basically being manipulated by spirits to do that, is horrifying. That's how Mia is going to be remembered forever now, and there's nothing she can do about it. Although yes, death is a part of that, I still see that as a fate worse than death, because even after death, you still know that all of that happened to you, and there's nothing you can do about it. The hand is an iconic prop too. I saw in Danny and Michael's video, they said that like they still have it. I hope that A24 sells like a prop of that, because that would be really cool, like right back there somewhere. Talk to Me was a blast from start to finish. Besides that one little tiny gripe I have with it, I give it a 9 out of 10. Great movie. I highly recommend this one too, especially for folks out there who are saying that original horror is dead. Oh, it's all just, you know, IP continuations and all that. No, it's not. This, Infinity Pool, Megan, all great examples of original horror from this year that kicked butt. Watch all of those movies if you feel that way. I promise there's still good horror out there. What did you guys think about Talk to Me though? Leave me something about it it in the comments below. Thank you all so much for watching this review of Talk to Me. Don't forget to like this video and subscribe for more horror content in the future. Please consider supporting me on Patreon as well, especially if you want to co-host my podcast with me. The link for that is in the description below. Thank you all again for watching, and as always, don't forget to kill it out there, y'all.